Now, I didn't do this from the beginning. Oh my God, I just almost got killed by an acorn. Hello and welcome to my porch. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel typically sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now obviously I'm on the porch today, so there's no recipe and there's no tag, which is what I usually do when I'm out here on the porch. Today I am part of a collaboration that was started by Sandy over Let's Get Fit with Sandy called Fall Back with Smart Choices, where we try to offer tips and tricks that have helped us on our weight loss journeys, and hopefully those will help someone else who is watching. I will link all of the channels who are part of this collaboration down below so you can go visit them after you've finished visiting with me. So first, for those of you who may be new to my channel, let me tell you a little bit about myself and my weight loss journey. I have had struggles with weight since I hit my teens, which is a lot of times when it starts. And I've gone up and down, yo-yoed all over the place, had good years, bad years, you know the deal. I even resorted to going to a hypnotist, and that worked for a while. But then as I kind of lost faith in it, I guess, it didn't work. It's kind of like a belief system. You have to believe in it for it to work. It did help me with my anxiety issues though, so it did help, just not as much with the weight loss. I did lose some after that, but not enough. And then I developed neuropathy and myopathy. I started having issues with my muscles that steadily got worse, and my nerves, and I would fall and couldn't get myself back up. I would need assistance. And being as heavy as I was, at my highest I was 307 pounds, but it was difficult enough for me to move and get up with the weight. Adding the neuropathy and myopathy just made it worse. So I knew I had to do something, get some of the weight off. It wouldn't cure me of the issues, but it might make them easier to handle. So I ended up going for weight loss surgery. Now when you prep for weight loss surgery, at least here in Massachusetts, you have to go through like 8 weeks of like meetings and stuff and kind of prepping for it. And they tell you to start eating the way that you are going to eat after the surgery so that you get accustomed to it, which means eating smaller bites, chewing more slowly, and having smaller portions. So just by doing that, I ended up losing too much weight to have the surgery, which was good and bad. The good thing was I didn't have to go through the surgery. The bad thing was I stopped eating that way and the weight started coming back on. So March of 2020, I joined Weight Watchers, WW, and started losing weight there. I went to one meeting before meetings were shut down for quarantine. And for a lot of people I know, quarantine threw them off track, but I had to retire from my disability. So I was used to being at home and it wasn't a shift for me. I only had to shift my eating. So I ended up losing the majority of my weight with WW. Then I ended up switching to iTrack Bites, and I am now on the iTrack Bites Better Balance plan, which is basically the WW Blue plan that I was on. So there was no real transition there. But I ended up reaching my goal earlier this year, February, I believe. And I'll get into what my goal is and how that is one of the factors that has helped me to lose weight. But all told, I've lost over 125 pounds. The highest point was 128, but it's still in that area. So when Sandy approached me about doing this collaboration, I was like, I don't know what I could tell anyone, because I didn't think I had any set rules that I was doing necessarily, or anything in particular that would help anyone. And she said, you lost over 100 pounds. You have to have things that you can share. So I thought about it. And I did come up with a list of 10 things that I kind of followed, I guess, to help me on my weight loss journey. Okay, so number one was I had my why in place. You know, I often hear people talking about their why. And mine was that I wanted to be able to move more easily, to make my neuropathy and myopathy a little easier to manage. And I knew by losing weight, I would do that. I also ended up along the way getting off my diabetes meds, getting off my blood pressure meds, and getting off my CPAP machine for my sleep apnea. So it had more effects than my original why, but it has helped me as far as movement, as far as like even getting up from a chair was very difficult for me, and that's gotten easier. It's not always easy. There are really rough days, there were really rough minutes, really rough hours, but it's much more manageable without all the extra weight. So having a why in place, a reason for doing this that I could keep focused on, was definitely a big help. The second thing on the list is I didn't restrict my foods. I wasn't going to eat just chicken breasts and steamed broccoli because I knew that wasn't reasonable. I knew that I would get tired of it, for one thing. I would get bored. And there were things I would crave. And if I didn't let myself have those things, I knew that it would set me off on a spiral. I would go have those things and feel bad about it, and you know the routine. So that was the second thing, is not restricting my food. I could have whatever I want as long as it fit within my points, or now my bites budget. And when I was on WW, I was very focused on getting the blue dots. So that was also a big help and kept me within a certain range so that I could still manage to have the things I wanted, but fit it in appropriately. Number 3, I changed up the menu. Now by that I mean, like I just said, I couldn't do chicken and broccoli nonstop. I couldn't do just yogurt and whatever. I need variety. If I don't have variety, I mean, there are people who can eat the same thing all the time, and to be fair, if they were peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, especially a triple decker like I used to make, I could eat that all day. But typically, I can't eat the same thing over and over. So I had to change up the menu. I would alter things that I wanted. So like, say I wanted a chili, I could have chili, but I would either use the very low fat, the 96% fat beef, or better yet, some ground chicken or ground turkey. So I would get things that I wanted, but I would change them up so that I was removing a lot of the points or bites that were going to be a problem. So definitely variety helped. So change up your menu. Don't try to stick to the same thing all the time. For most people that won't work. You'll want to go off into getting something that you really crave and again go off the rails. So change up the menu. Which kind of leads into number 4, which was I played with my food, which is how I ended up getting this channel started, thanks to Bree Coleman, Jennifer Lynn, and Dee over at Dish with Dee, because I was playing around with recipes, even WW recipes. I wasn't willing to spend 7, 8, 9 bites or points at that time on a lunch. So I wanted to find ways that I could reduce the bites and points, but also have a satisfying portion, because I need to be satisfied. I can't have like a little taste of something and be like, okay, that's it. That's all I need. I need something that's going to be satisfying. So I played with my food. I substituted ground chicken for ground beef. I substituted cooking spray for oils. You know, anywhere I could shave off a couple of points or bites, that's what I did. And now on this channel, I am sharing those things with you. So definitely play with your food. See where you can have a little wiggle room with your meals. So that leads into what I've already mentioned. Number 5 is having portions that will satisfy me. I mean, I could have had lasagna and had like this much, and that would fit into my bites or points. But I wouldn't have been satisfied with that. So I adjusted my things. I played with my food, as I said, and got portions that would satisfy, but with bites or points that wouldn't break the bank. So definitely find ways to make those portions as you want them, as will satisfy you, and whittle down those points or bites. And one thing I did take away from the weight loss surgery prep is number 6, and that is to savor my food. I was always, and I actually prided myself on being a fast eater. That's not very good, because I ate so fast I couldn't tell that I was full. So I ended up savoring my food, eating more slowly, taking smaller bites, and enjoying the flavors. And it was so slow that by the time the meal was over, I didn't want seconds, because I was satisfied. I had savored it. I had taken my time with it. I hadn't wolfed it down so fast my body couldn't register what had happened. And so I'd go back for more. So that is number 6, is to savor your food, take smaller bites, and chew more thoroughly. Just enjoy the tastes, the textures, and really relish that, rather than trying to shove it in as fast as you can. I know many people may not do that, but that was one of my problems. So if you're out there wolfing down your food like I used to, definitely take your time and savor it. And number 7 is kind of a controversial one. For me, it worked. Maybe it won't work for everyone. There are those times when you just crave something. You crave things. You just want to have a little binge. Now, I am a snacker, a late night snacker especially. Like in the evenings watching TV, I love to snack. So I adjusted my bites and points to low, very low in the early part of the day, so I would have a reserve later in the day that I could use for those snacks that I knew I wanted. But that wasn't always good enough. There are always those moments where you're just like, want to be ravenous and you just want to eat everything in the fridge. So the controversial part of this is that when I had those cravings, those ravenous moods, I gave in to them. I know that sounds wrong, and for some people maybe it would be. But I didn't just freely give in to them. I gave in to them with rules. Rule number 1 was it had to be after dinner. It couldn't be an all-day binge fest. I couldn't start early in the morning. It had to be after dinner, maybe like 7 o'clock. From then on, I was free range. Well, not exactly free range. I had to have snacks that were in the point system. They had to be low bite, low point snacks. They had to be things I had on hand. And for anyone who's new to the channel, I do have snack lists. One's a sweet snack list and one's a salty snack list. And I will try to remember to leave those links in the description box below. I had plenty of snacks on hand. I had low point, low bite snacks all over the place. I stocked up on things I knew I'd want. If I wanted something salty, I had it ready. If I wanted something sweet, I had it ready. If I wanted something chocolate, I had it ready. So whatever craving hit me, I had access to something that was within my points or bites, and it wouldn't send me off finding a Snickers bar somewhere. So I was able to satisfy that without indulging in high bite options or high point options. And then the final thing, and I think this is probably the most important part of my binge fest, was that I was allowing myself to do it so the next day I could not feel any guilt. And it worked. I knew I'd allowed myself to do it. I got it out of my system. And this would hit me early on, maybe every 2 weeks. Now, it's maybe 3 weeks to a month. I'll get that ravenous feeling and I will give in. But again, with the same ground rules. Just because I'm at goal doesn't mean I can let up. And that's another thing, a bonus, I guess, because I didn't have that on the list. Once you reach goal, you still have to monitor. You still have to check in with yourself. You still have to follow some sort of guidelines, because if you go back to just eating as you were before, the pounds are going to come back. So I guess that's a bonus there of even if you're at goal, you got to keep going. But definitely if you allow yourself that moment, that brief time after dinner or however you choose to work it, eating those low bite, low point snacks, letting yourself get out of control, and knowing that you're allowing it and giving yourself permission, no guilt the next day. Usually I would have been like, what did I do to myself? Why did I do that? But I gave myself permission. I gave myself a time window. And I gave myself low point, low bite options. So number 8, I give myself 1 day a week as a no track day. Now for me, that is Saturdays, because I weigh in Saturday morning. I've tracked up until that day, so I know whatever my weight is not affected by my no track day. And what that means is I just don't track my food. It doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all and I go for a binge of everything I've wanted. No, it just means I might have regular pancakes for breakfast. I might go out for dinner, that kind of thing. It's not like grab everything I've wanted throughout the week and consume it as fast as I can. No, that's not what a no track day is. What it is just simply giving yourself some freedom, giving yourself some breathing room. Now, I learned of this from Bree Coleman, whose channel is Balancing Life with Bree now. At the time, it was Keeping Up with the Colemans. And She had started a no-track day from the beginning of her journey. And for some people that might work well. For me, I don't think it would have in the early days until I got established a few months. Then I finally trusted myself to have a no-track day without going totally off the rails. So giving yourself one day of freedom, of not being tied to the tracking, but also not giving yourself a binge fest of high bite, high point foods. That's not what it's about. It's just about like kind of loosening up the collar a little bit and not feeling so rigid about everything that you're consuming. Still eat within reason, but don't track it. Just let yourself have some pasta if you want some. Have real pancakes, whatever it is. Just don't go overboard with it. So that was number 8. Give yourself a little freedom with a no-track day. Number 9, I have mentioned this before in other videos. For those of you who haven't seen it, I don't have a goal weight. I don't believe that it makes sense to say 180 is my goal weight, and any fluctuation from that is going to set me off. So what I have is a goal range. 180, which is my goal weight, is right in the center, and I can go from 175 to 185. That's my comfort zone. I'm not going to get to 180 and be panicked because it went up half a pound, or get freaked out because, okay, maybe I gained 2 pounds during vacation. I am giving myself a range. So just like the no track day, it's a little sense of freedom, of loosening up that collar and not being so rigid. I think rigidity in a weight loss journey can be very damaging. I'm not saying have a free-for-all, obviously, but too much rigidity, I think, can have the adverse effect where you're so caught up in it. Any change is going to set you off and make you go, this isn't working. I can't control myself. I can't whatever. No, give yourself a goal range, a little cushion, and usually I'm going between 180 and 185 more than 175 and 180, but I'm comfortably within that range, and I am totally fine with that. I'm not giving myself one set number to strive for and then freak out if it's going off of that number. Free yourself up a little bit and go for a range. I say give yourself a 10-pound range with your goal weight right in the center. So if your goal weight is like 135, give yourself from 130 to 140 and aim for that middle, but don't freak out because you're shifting one way or the other. A weight range is definitely the way to go, I think. Now, number 10, I personally think is the biggest factor in all of this. And that is, do not fit yourself into a diet, no matter what it is, whether it's keto, whether it's WW, iTrack bites, calorie counting, whatever it is. Don't fit yourself into that diet. Fit the diet to you. Cater it to you. What I mean by that is, like I said before, I know I'm a nighttime snacker. So I adjusted my meals so that I had very low bite lunch and breakfast. I usually didn't spend more than 10 bites or points for those 2 meals. And that gave me the freedom to later have not only dinner, but also snacks as I wanted them, because I know myself. I know I'm going to want those snacks. And if I didn't find some way of fitting the plan into the way I know I'm going to eat, and if I just said, I can't have snacks, that's it. I'm going to have my meals. I can't have any snacks. That wouldn't have worked for me. So you know yourself better than anyone else does. Fit the program into the way that you eat, into the way that you know that you're going to eat. That is going to help you be successful because you are not changing anything more than maybe the foods you're eating. But you're still eating in the same way. Because one of the biggest problems would be if I fit myself into this diet, this program, once I reach my goal weight and I loosen up those reins and I start eating the way I really wanted to eat, the weight's going to come back on. So that is probably my biggest takeaway from this, I personally think, is do not try to change your habits, your eating style, your whatever to fit with the program. Fit that program into the way you know you're going to eat. And I think that will make you much more successful than the other way around. Anyway, those are my 10 tips, plus that bonus one I threw in there that I didn't even realize was going to come up. So I hope that this has helped somebody. I hope you found some information within this video that you find helpful or that you can use on your weight loss journey and help you to get back on track if you're off track, or help keep you going, keep motivating you. So visit the other people. I will leave them all listed below who are doing the collaboration for Fall Back with Smart Choices. And thank you to Sandy over at Let's Get Fit with Sandy for including me in this collaboration. I'm glad you talked me into doing it. I can see that I did actually make some changes and do some things that might be beneficial to someone. So I hope you will give this video a like, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and you are looking for recipes that you can use on your weight loss journey. And like I said, I like satisfying portions, so that's what you're going to get. In fact, yesterday's video was all about cinnamon rolls that are light and fluffy and only 3 bites or 3 blue points. So if you're looking for things like that, subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video so that you will be notified that it's there. And share this video if you think there's anyone that you know who could use this information or any of my recipes. Please feel free to share it and pass it along to them, and hopefully it'll be of help on their weight loss journey. You can also follow me on social media. I have my Instagram handle here, as well as 2 Facebook groups that I'm a part of. One is mine, Recipes with Roy. The other is Finding Our Way, W-E-I-G-H, and that I co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing a Life with Bree. So join us over there. There's a lot of support in those groups, a lot of tips and tricks that you can pick up from the other people who are in those groups. So I really think it's advantageous if you are feeling like you need more support and structure. So I guess that wraps up my piece of this collaboration. Again, go visit all of the other collaborators on this. I will have them linked below in the description box. So that does it for me. I hope that you learned something. I hope you could take away something, and I hope it will be helpful to you on your weight loss journey. So until next time, bye.